Alright, what's going on, guys? It's Chev, and welcome back to Modern Warfare Remastered. As you guys can see right here, this camo that you're seeing on the M40, and obviously I'm gonna assume from the title of the video. Here's also a little fun fact. I don't know the title of the video until I'm done making it, and then I name it. I just like churn videos out, and then I just try my best to name all of them. Sometimes I'll come up with an idea for a title before the video, and then I'll make the video and then touch on that, and then that'll be the title. Like, for example here, these new camos. So this is obviously the H1 mod for Modern Warfare Remastered, and that means that we basically can go around, mess around with a lot of the files and stuff, and, well, not be banned anyway. I'm sure you can do this to some degree on the actual live game, but yeah, basically people are just in the files, and all they're doing is finding, like, the base files of, you know, the original camos. For example, I don't have Exclusion Zone anymore because this camo is basically replacing those files. We're not replacing them, but like kind of like covering over them. For example, like if I delete them, it just goes back to regular Exclusion Zone. And the way that you do it whenever you're downloading a new camo or whatever, you download the camo, it's got a bunch of different pictures in it, and then you go and put it in the folder, and then the folder will also have some files in it that tells those images what to do. It's the way that I'm assuming how it works anyway, just from me just going and installing it. I feel like this is exactly what Mastery camos should be like. I really dislike the fact that we end up working our asses off to go and get like some just super dull and boring Mastery camo. I understand that they're supposed to stand for something as opposed to looking too out there and crazy, but like, come on, man, let's make it worth it. You see how many people are running around with like Dark Aether, right? You guys saw that the Warzone audience didn't give a single shit about realism in terms of like the way that everything looked. Look at this. Oh, it looks so good. It's so cool looking. There could be other cooler camos out there. I have more than one camo installed. Like for example, the S-Tac right here. Check this one out. Look at this shit. Like super galactic dark matter Aether, I don't even know. That lobby's laggy as shit though, I can't play in there. I'm so happy so many people are still on these servers every single day. I'm happy that people will be able to actually realize how solid this game was. And also, there's like these weird people that are like going out of their way to like, I don't know what the term is, but they're like telling their own story of what happened during Modern Warfare Remastered. They said a whole shit ton of people started playing the game, and then they all just started quitting the game when they started adding new things because they're COD 4 purists. Now, while I will say that there definitely were like purists out there that were absolutely upset about them adding new things to the game, a lot of them didn't even actually play the game in the first place. They tried it out and then they just decided it's not for them, and then they went back and played like literally regular COD 4. There was no like mass exodus of players. There just was really not that many players to begin with. Most people just literally stayed, I think, on Black Ops 3 for like the entire year. If you were bold enough to sit there and actually try, you know, posting Infinite Warfare anyway. Oh my fucking god. Trying to find low ping, still populated servers. What the fuck is happening? Yeah, if you want to know how to actually download the files or whatever, I joined their Discord. Cause somebody tweeted at me, like, yo, just go into their Discord or whatever, and then they got like a resource tab and a camos tab. And sure enough, they did. And there's like a little tutorial thing on how to do it or whatever, but yeah, I'm sure people will find it if they want to do it, but. Oh, I just realized they changed Fulbright. Instead of scaling from 0 to 3, it's 0 to 2. That's why it wasn't working when I was typing 3. I thought my shit was fucked up. Obviously replacing camo files and shit like that, or just like overwriting them or anything like that. Obviously other people are also gonna have that camo in place of that camo as well. So it's gonna look like basically everybody's running around with the same cool camo you just downloaded, but you know, that's just kind of how files work. Man's actually scope walking in COD 4, holy fuck. Yeah, so there's a UFC this weekend. By the way, I want to thank everybody who left a comment on yesterday's video as well. It's like all the feedback and shit like that. And some people were like, surprisingly, they're like, yeah, I mean, I don't give a fuck about Vanguard, but I'll watch the campaign. A lot of people surprisingly have not even like watched the campaign. Like they have no idea what happened. I mean, it's just assumed it's just another World War II game. Like, I don't know. What the fuck's gonna be so different other than like overall quality? Story's not really gonna change other than like the characters, really, and it's always like the same general thematic shit. UFC 276, Adesanya versus Cannonier. I mean, early prelims, they got Uriah Hall versus Andre Muniz. I think if the real tentative Uriah shows up, he's definitely not gonna win this. It always depends on what kind of Uriah Hall is gonna show up. It was like some days he could beat whoever he wants, and then others, I just think he's a really mental fighter. I think he's always been capable. At Tavares against Dricus du Plessis. Hope I said his name right. I'm gonna go with Dricus on that one. I mean, he's on a streak, he's dangerous, and Brad Tavares has taken a ton of damage over his time fighting, so I mean, why not? Then we got Jim Miller. Donald Cerrone finally has a fight that he actually made it to that isn't canceled, unless it's actually gonna be canceled within this time period right here, at least a few hours before this happens. I'm gonna assume this fight's gonna happen a little bit, like, probably like 8:30. They got like 7 hours for it to fuck up again, because Donald has been rescheduled literally like 3 or 4 times. Ian Gary's back against Gabriel Green. I mean, I'm gonna assume Ian Gary can do something with that. I don't know. Brad Riddell versus Jalen Turner. I don't know if Jalen's ready for that. Jalen's like a crazy physical specimen, but Brad Riddell's really fucking good. We'll see, though. See if he can, like, bully him or some shit. Card pay-per-view, we got Pedro Munoz versus Sean O'Malley. Honestly, a part of me really thinks that Pedro Munoz can really win this fight. I don't know if people are realizing Pedro Munoz's style, but he has one of the best, like, low kicks in the entire division. Just in general, great kicker. You've been promoted to administrator. Huh? I don't even know what server I'm in. This guy admin? Why? I'm not gonna enforce anything. Why would I do that? Why would you give that to me? Obviously, Sean O'Malley, people are thinking he should win this. And in the striking department, obviously, he's incredibly dangerous. The thing is, Munoz is very tough. He has a good low kick, and he can wrestle. All things that O'Malley just really stylistically, even outside of him just even being O'Malley, the typical long, rangy, nice, straight punching fighter. And then obviously with the flair of O'Malley and stuff, that is the type of fighter that you really don't want to fight. Like, matched up, it's just not really that great for you. The best kind of matchup is you against another striker that is being outranged by you, like a boxer or something like that. Someone that's like not so good at striking, but maybe they'll try to wrestle a little bit. These are the guys that like usually you would be able to get like highlights and shit on through that style. It's just how it matches up really well. It's an advanced rock, paper, scissors. That's just having a stylistic advantage. That doesn't guarantee a win or a loss either way, but I just want to remind people that Munoz is stylistically actually not a good matchup for O'Malley. Sure, he's got the reach advantage. I haven't used ACOG in so long, so that was just weird feeling. Honestly, I think I'm gonna pick Munoz. I can't say all that and not pick Munoz. If O'Malley wins this fight, it's gonna be quick, fast, finish. I just feel like the longer it goes, we'll see though. It's a good test for O'Malley for sure, so we'll see if he's ready for that kind of shit. If he is, I mean, fuck yeah. If not, I mean, not like he couldn't go back to just beating up other people anyway. I mean, just give him good matchups. You know that he's fun to watch, so who gives a fuck? Robbie Lawler versus Brian Barberina. Robbie's like 40 years old now, so like, I don't really know how to feel about this. Obviously, Glover Teixeira proved that it doesn't matter if you're 40, 42, 43, whatever, you can still win a belt. But everybody knows Robbie's style. After you know, fought for a while, your style doesn't really evolve anymore. His style has been figured out. Robbie just doesn't really have, like, that one skill where he's just, like, a massive, like, skill issue. His is more of, like, a heart gladiator kind of thing. Like, if you start succumbing to his overall pressure and his just warrior mentality, yeah, he's a fucking nightmare to fight. Brian Barberina is a bit younger, and they'll both just bang in the pocket, so, I mean, why not? Fuck it. I think Brian Barberina probably has this fight. I would love if Robbie won, though, but I think Brian Barberina. Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira. I don't even feel like I've died 60 times. I'm not even like looking at the screen. Alex Pereira is literally going from unranked to fighting the number 4 person in the world at middleweight just because he's the guy that beat Adesanya twice in kickboxing. One of them, I think, being like a decision, which I don't even know if it's like debated or not. It might have just been like a clear dub. And then in the second fight, Adesanya was winning until he wasn't. Alex Pereira, literally, people are telling stories that he's like made out of like fucking obsidian. Like he literally feels like a rock. He's like 6'4" or some shit at 185 with an 80-inch reach, which is I think the same as Adesanya. So if he did make it to Adesanya, that'd be interesting. And obviously that's why they're pushing it, right? They're hoping that Pereira is actually going to be able to go through with this. Sean Strickland tends to fight regardless of how he talks. He says all sorts of like, you know, outlandish shit that sounds like super savage, and then he'll just like start fighting. And he'll be mostly a defensive jab boxer. I'm not even like talking shit either. I'm just saying like that's how he fights. And it's like a stark difference between the way that he talks versus the way that he actually fights. Expect this guy to go out there and try to like take people's heads off. When he say he's gonna murder somebody, it's like, yeah, he's gonna do that. And then he just walks out there and just jabs you and walks backwards. I mean, it's working for him, obviously. He hasn't lost a fight in quite a while. So, I mean, it works for him, obviously. But I don't know if it's gonna work in this scenario because the things that he does right, like wrestling and that little jab and like being defensive and shit, you think Alex Pereira, one of the greatest fucking kickboxers we know of in MMA, is gonna somehow get out-jabbed by a guy that doesn't have the reach advantage. So then you have to sit there and assume and think that maybe Strickland's gonna have to wrestle, right? Thing is, I don't know if he can. I don't know if he's physically strong enough to actually take him down. And Pereira's also working with Glover Teixeira as well on like grappling and takedown defense and shit like that. Now, obviously, if Pereira ends up on the ground, it's gonna be bad. If we're assuming he really doesn't have much of an actual ground game or takedown defense, yeah, that would be bad. That's the route to victory for Strickland. Because there ain't no way Strickland's gonna KO him or something. That's just not how Strickland fights. He didn't KO other people. How the fuck would they knock this guy out? Obviously, I think Alex Pereira by bad It's gonna be bad. It's not gonna be pretty. Also, another thing to note, Sean Strickland's leg kick defense, it's not good. And you're going against one of the greatest again, I have to say it, like, you don't understand the low kicks that he's gonna feel, man. And also, that low kick goes hand in hand with his wrestling ability. If that front leg is chewed up, he's not gonna be able to shoot nearly as powerfully for the takedowns. So, and we got Volkanovski versus Max Holloway. This one is definitely the hardest one for me to predict, in my opinion. These are just like my guesses. I'm not encouraging anybody to put money or some shit like that. Fuck no. That's stupid as shit anyway. It's Holloway versus Volkanovski 3. First two fights ended up going to Volk, with people arguing that Max potentially won the second fight. Some people also said things like tie and other shit like that, so I don't know. There's a reason they're doing the third one though, because Max basically beat all of the other contenders that could have possibly gone up there and challenged them. They lost to him, so he just refused to go away, so that's why he gets his third fight. But if Max loses his third fight, obviously it's gonna be pretty impossible for him to get a fourth. Even if he just beats the shit out of all the contenders. I don't really know where Max goes if that is the case, but I don't think it would really matter, considering most people will watch a Max Holloway fight regardless. So thing is though, the dream thing is Max Holloway wins this one so they can go and fight a fourth and a potential fifth time. Imagine that shit. They have a fucking best of 5. I have a feeling this one's gonna end in an actual finish though. I don't think they're gonna go all the way. I think this fight, I feel like these guys have learned enough about each other, and someone has developed something well enough and made some sort of adjustment that I don't know if the other is going to be able to adjust to in time. I don't know who that'll be, but I mean, imagine Max Holloway develops some sort of like real power in his hands where he doesn't need to punch someone 800 times for them to start like looking wobbly. Just as an example, small little things like that. I'm gonna hope for Max to win. I mean, I pretty much hope for Max to win every single time. And it's not like my heart is telling me one thing and my brain is telling me the other. This one is genuinely hard for me to predict. With fighters of this caliber being able to download this much information on each other, I genuinely don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I feel like this might be one of the most entertaining ones that they have. First two were obviously entertaining as well, and arguably could have gone either way. But at the end of the day, the facts is that Volk is up 2-0, and Max needs to win this one if he ever wants that title back, unless Volk ends up moving up to 155, potentially getting stripped or relinquishing the belt, whatever. I don't know. I just don't see Volk getting rid of the belt though, so I don't know. He's also very, very active. The issue is that if he does try to move up to 155, it's not a question of whether Volk is active, it's whether the other fighters at 155 who refuse to fight each other are gonna even bother fighting him. We got Adesanya versus Cannonier. I mean, Cannonier is clearly a striker here. The one really cool thing that everybody talks about with Cannonier is that he used to fight up at heavyweight and everything. You can see this transformation of him and his journey throughout the UFC, of him being like 230 or some shit pounds, 230, 240, something like that, slimming all the way down, but keeping all of that power of a heavyweight squished down into a 185 body. He also even said that he would attempt 170 at one point, which I don't know. Eventually there has to be a diminishing returns point for him, right? I'm getting my shit rocked in this lobby. I can't concentrate for shit. This is a striker versus striker matchup. Cannonier tends to be more of like a Muay Thai style, high guard, throw shit super, super hard. I mean, arguably the hardest in the entire division next to Pereira, potentially. I don't even know. Cannonier has insane power. Thing is, I just don't know if he's ever gonna even be able to really touch Adesanya. I mean, unless Adesanya ends up losing a step, or somehow Cannonier ends up somehow like winning the leg kick battle. I mean, he could try that. I also thought maybe potentially Cannonier could have an advantage in the clinch, just assuming through like, you know, Muay Thai versus the typical way that Adesanya fights, but it's not like Adesanya doesn't know how to clinch or anything like that either, so we'll see. Cannonier might have to make it ugly, but the thing is, Cannonier doesn't really fight that ugly. I don't see Cannonier like just starting to shoot for his ankles immediately. Like, I don't see him doing that. I see him, if he is gonna just stand there and swing with him, he'll take all the strikes that he needs to try and trade and all that shit, and see if he can land something big, and everyone always has a chance. But yeah, in terms of the camos and shit like that, obviously if you're playing MWRH1, check that out over on their Discord, or maybe it's on a forum or some shit like that somewhere for download, I don't know. Obviously be careful. This is just, I feel like I wanted Mastery camos to actually feel like they were worth it, to look like a lot of work went into it. And camos like Chrome and camos like Damascus, in my opinion, I know some people really love Damascus, but for me, no. And especially before we ended up seeing Damascus and there were like rumors about Damascus, I thought that they meant like Damascus steel, you know, just like the typical swirls and stuff. I didn't expect it to be that pattern of Damascus, but then they go and make it like red and blue and shit. So it's just a weird color combo to me. I just don't think it really looks that good. I don't think it ever really has. Obviously, I was happy with it, looking at it and everything, just, you know, unlocking it being over. But at the end of the day, it just really doesn't say much for the amount of work that actually went into it. Obsidian also kind of being in that boat, but Obsidian also kind of like thematically makes sense, so it's fine, right? That one I can kind of let slide, but Damascus itself, I don't know. It's just not enough. I wish more things were kind of like this. I don't really care about this whole like, oh, you gotta be realistic or you gotta stick with the times, blah, blah, blah. The devs are aware every single year. You have to also understand, they are developing this content months and months and months in advance. By the time the game has already launched and they're releasing content for everybody, they already have like season 3, season 4 shit planned with crazy like Power Ranger operator packs and weapons and shit like that. They never stick to whatever the actual just regular time frame is. The next one being modern, I mean, why not? Why not let it be something like this? I'm really scared that I'm just gonna get literally another clown camo. All of this work. And then we're gonna be playing it and staring at that ugly shit for 2 years. You understand? Because we're not gonna get like a new expansion on Warzone 2 with like a new game. If MW2 drops in October, end of October, October 28th, and then Warzone comes out in like December, right? They said it's 2022. It is coming out in 2022, so assume December at the latest. The only mastery camo that we have to look at in Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 is that one mastery camo, since Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, and Vanguard are not connected to this. We have to stare at it that entire time. Obviously, you could just put another camo on. It's not that deep, but you know what I'm saying. Sometimes the game just needs a coat of paint, you know what I mean? And also, I think Warzone camo challenges aren't the worst idea ever either. It would entice me to play more. I'm just saying.